Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Thursday late morning. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman back together in studio. We had our pre-show kiss. We're ready for the show. Big game on Sunday, Zach. Eagles Cowboys, the first of this brutal 6-game stretch. Eagles get a bye after this, but arguably the most important of these 6 games is on Sunday.
It took you 12 seconds to make me uncomfortable. I thought it was going to be like 38 seconds. So you actually hit the under. Good work. Okay. The most important game Sunday being?
What are you talking? I'm saying this is maybe the most important of the 6 games.
Oh, I thought you were referencing something else there. Yeah, I would agree.
No idea what you're talking about.
This is a division game. So, as they say, counts 2 in the standings, right?
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you mansplaining how the schedule works. Yeah.
And I don't know if I would say it's like the biggest game, but it's the most important game. It's the most important game.
The most important game is always the next game. Yeah,
well,
sure.
That much I agree with. But over this 6-game stretch, the most important game because of the distance it could potentially give you in the NFC East. And winning the division is obviously getting the top seeds, the most important thing. But winning the division is so critical because you get a home playoff game. Otherwise, you're on the road, and it's a much more challenging path. So I do think this is the most important of these 6 games. But I also agree the next game is the biggest game. And that Super Bowl rematch is probably the most fun game.
I don't even know if that's true. I feel like the Niners game is maybe has the most juice.
True. That's true.
I think that game has the most juice. But in terms of the actual percentages and the logistics of the Eagles Super Bowl path, I think this game probably is maybe the most important. It's either this one or the other Dallas one because, as you said, if you win the division, you're going to be the 1 or the 2 seed. If you don't win the division, you're going to be the 5 seed. And there's obviously a huge difference in terms of your chances of getting to the Super Bowl, if that's the case. The Chiefs game, the Bills game, those are AFC games. They count a little bit less. So obviously this is huge. What is your level of excitement? You were at the NovaCare Complex yesterday. Any different buzz? I know that Nick Sirianni is downplaying it a little bit, but in the locker room, what was the pulse?
So the team is actually taking on that similar sentiment that Sirianni expressed, which is not to enlarge this game. They took that approach 2 years ago, as we discussed in yesterday's show, with Sirianni wearing the Beat Dallas shirt. And this is not the path that they're taking as far as talking points. It's very much every game's a big game. Jalen Hurts said the same thing. He would not enlarge this Dallas game. I asked Jalen actually about Jerry Jones saying that the Cowboys would have taken him, and he's like, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I liked his answer week one.
Everybody gets to say that, yeah.
I liked his answer week 1 better, which is a lot of people are saying that would have happened, and that was, of course, going into the New England game.
Yeah, that's a better answer.
Steve Clef texted you?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to engage the audience, Bo. Okay, this is part of.
Also, keep in mind the audio listeners who will be listening to this later in the fact, and for them to hear you say Steve Clef texted you. What are they going to think we're talking about? They don't know who Steve Clef is. They don't know that he's a guy
so I was
in the
about
chat
to explain,
with an avatar of some weird lady hentai thing going on.
So
I don't know what that is.
Let me explain this. But first off, doing a show in 2023 often requires engaging the audience. One of the great things about PHLY is our community building. So here we have loyal viewers who are watching us at 11:34. He might be on the West Coast. It might be 8:34 where he is. And I don't know where Steve lives, but Steve saw you looking at your text because my point about the locker room actually wasn't that important to you. You were.
I was listening. I am capable of doing two things at once. I don't know that you are. When Logan O'Hop gets traded, you totally tune out. But I am capable of listening. Yeah. I heard what you said. I was also getting texts because Shil Kapadia and Marissa Morris are very upset that I told them that somebody was mean to you at the Novacare complex yesterday. That's very much on their radar.
Bo. First off, some things are off the record. Number one, it's certainly
kept it anonymous.
Certainly not meant for discussion on said show. And I also think you overstated what occurred. But in any event, let's talk Eagles Cowboys.
Okay, let's talk Eagles Cowboys. We got a lot to get to in this show. I want to sort of finish up the conversation from yesterday on the sliding doors of Nick Sirianni versus Josh McDaniels. I was lying in bed last night, and as you're supposed,
I don't know where this is going.
As you're supposed to do, to get a nice, healthy sleep.
I got a laugh out of Coach. That's the first time I got a laugh.
That is the first time you got a laugh. Healthy sleeping habits, you're always supposed to be scrolling Twitter right before you go to sleep. That's what I was doing. And I saw a video of Rasul Douglas meeting his teammates in Buffalo for the first time, which sort of sparked a thought process in my mind that stopped me from falling asleep. But I might like to have a Rasul Douglas conversation a little bit later in the show. We've got our weekly draft to talk about. We're going to talk about the Cowboys offense against the Eagles defense. Lots to get to. So lots of show.
Let's just unpack this pillow talk as the truth says. What time was this happening?
I think this was about 11.
Okay. And so did you have the TV on? Like, were you watching the World Series? Did you want to see the final out?
I did not.
Okay.
Now, I was doing one more night sequestered upstairs with Casey because he was not fully feeling it last night. So I was going to give him one more night of extra attention. So I was alone in bed and no TV in that room. So I didn't particularly care to watch the end of that game. Okay. Not a lot of juice for Rangers Diamondbacks. How about you?
I had that on.
Once I found out that no-hitter was over,
Yeah, I had that on in the background. I was doing work last night.
You famously fall asleep with the TV on.
Always, yes.
Emily doesn't mind.
No, she's sound asleep.
Okay.
At that point. I was doing work at that hour. It's a little book writing that I'm plugging away at here. Or I shouldn't say a lot of book writing that I'm plugging away at here. And
you writing in bed?
No. I was in the room where you saw us do our show yesterday.
Yes.
And then I went in the bed around midnight and put on the morning show and fell asleep.
So even if you are coming into bed and Emily is asleep, you will then come in and turn on the TV.
Well, so we're really talking Eagles Cowboys here, huh? I did walk myself into this. No, she will have it on, so it's usually on.
Okay.
Like Bravo.
So it's how she prefers to fall asleep as well.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And the morning show, huh?
The morning show, yeah.
How ironic.
Because I'm a journalist?
No, that's not what irony means. I'm talking about because you're putting on a show called The Morning Show to fall asleep to.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you watch?
I do not.
Okay. I think you might like it, Bo.
Yeah, maybe it would put me to sleep.
Some questions about journalism ethics.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about that.
Just talking
before
about
the show started. Anyway, here's my Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, let's hear.
What a fascinating career Rasul Douglas has had, and what an interesting case study in life in the NFL. The guy comes in, 3rd round pick. He starts 5 games for a Super Bowl champion. He's a real part of that team. And then from there, it's like a bit of a disappointing career in Philly. He gets released before his 4th season, spends a year in Carolina. Next year, he gets whacked by 3 different teams before even playing a game. He's on the Cardinals practice squad when the Packers bring him on over. All of a sudden, he becomes like a huge player, the key to their defense, this like game-changing guy. He's getting traded for a 3rd round pick, like the same price as Chase Young. He's going to Buffalo as a savior. He's still only 28 years old. He's lived a full life in the NFL. What a story.
And a great Wolf's Den.
And this is part of the Rasul angle for me. Always carried himself like he was a really, really good player, and always thought that he had that pathological confidence required of that position, where the suggestion that he is not a starting caliber corner is like offensive to him. And both from a journalist perspective, but also like the coaching staff perspective. Like the idea that he didn't deserve to be out there was insane. And like you sort of need that confidence to be able to carry you through all of those different stops. Like the reason that he has had this career is because of that unbelievable confidence. And I think that that's like a good just NFL player story. Like you need that.
Well said. Agree there. And in addition to that, players often know. And he is one of these guys who is like beloved by his teammates, or like really respected by his teammates. I saw a tweet from Chris Long the other day saying he's biased, but he loves Rasul, right? He's someone who, because the way he practiced, he was a tough guy. He was very much like ingratiated within the locker room. Yeah, I'm happy to see the career that he's built for himself. Because
I always liked Rasul.
I also respect the way people respond to adverse situations, right? I mean, he was down in his career, like you said, bouncing from team to team, and caught on with the Packers, took advantage of the opportunity, earned a big contract, and now he's going to a team that's in the Super Bowl push, and he's going to play a huge role for that Bills team.
You know what's funny? I was also thinking, because I think of that Bills team as having a lot of Eagles connections, because Sean McDermott's the head coach, but there's only one guy on the roster who he was teammates with in Philadelphia. Do you know who that was?
Ryan Bates.
Ryan Bates. Do you think Rasul remembers being teammates with Ryan Bates?
I doubt it. Ryan Bates was only there for a summer. Probably stuck to the O-line.
Do you think Ryan Bates introduces himself to Rasul like, hey, remember me? Rasul, my man.
Maybe so. It reminds me actually of...
But it's so funny. Like, they were brief teammates for that summer, right? And back then, Rasul was fighting for a job as a backup, and Ryan Bates was about to get traded because he was a nobody to the Eagles. And now Ryan Bates is like their sixth offensive lineman. He's a big player, and Rasul is the savior coming in. They just traded a third-round pick for this guy.
Have you ever heard Jason Kelsey's Vince Young story? He said it on his...
I think he has a few Vince Young stories.
Okay, well, I'll give a shout-out to his show, because they might need some attention, right? He didn't sell that one.
Every comment does not require a sell.
Yeah, I think it was you who left that iTunes comment, by the way.
I don't even know what iTunes comment you're talking about. I don't read the iTunes comments. I did read a very funny YouTube comment from yesterday's show, though, that said, you read the comments more than Kenny Gainwell.
I appreciate the audience because, anyone who's taking time, not just to watch or listen, but to actually like respond and give feedback, their opinion matters to me. So Jason Kelsey was telling this story to his brother that he was down in Houston for the Super Bowl, and he's at the club, and Vince Young's there, and he's like, "Oh, Vince Young was my teammate. I doubt he remembers who I am, but I got to go up and say hello." So he goes up, says hello. Vince, remember me? I played with you, and Vince is like, "Of course, Prince Selleck. Of course, Selleck." That was.
He thought that Kelsey was Selleck.
He's like, "Of course I remember you, Selleck. I always remember my guys."
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So Kelsey was cracking.
I thought there was another story about Vince Young like teaching him the right way to drink as a professional athlete during the week or something like that.
Kelsey need help with that?
I think there was something to that. The other thing, you mentioned it on the players know thing. I think this is a part of what we were sort of talking about with Fletcher Cox the other day. Like, a player's relationship with a position coach can turn things the wrong way with an organization.
Big time.
And that guy is not always the expert, right? Like, the players probably do know better than the position coach. And I'm not saying that was necessarily the case in Philadelphia.
A Corey Unlin shot?
No, but I think, like...
I thought Corey knew what he was doing.
Sure. And I'm not blaming that on Unlin in Philadelphia, but, like, along the way... Rasul Douglas is a bristly guy who believes in himself. I would imagine that there are times when he didn't exactly see eye to eye with the position coach. A guy doesn't want to put you out there then, and like you find the right situation, things can change. It's a little bit like the Sirianni McDaniels thing, where there are a lot of things in the NFL that are context dependent. I don't know that Josh McDaniels is like that. I think he's a pretty big independent variable, but just to the players' no point, like Fletcher Cox is all like. He's all about that, right?
Yeah.
Where the guys in the locker room know the coaching staff is there to do their job, but that doesn't mean that they are the experts 100% of the time.
I also think that the Jim Schwartz defense, which is, from my view, an outstanding defense, it's sometimes not kind to corners, right? Leaves them on an island. You're playing single high safety, or at least in Philly, you're playing single high safety a lot of the time, and that's why you saw them more exposed to big plays than these Desai defenses or Jonathan Gannon defense.
Well, Zach, Rasul Douglas has traveled around the NFL so much. He's put a lot of tread on those shoes of his. That's a transition.
Oh, you want me to read that? Okay.
To the Drops by Soul Savvy app, which makes it easier to keep up with all the latest news, releases, raffles, and sales in the sneaker world. It is your one-stop shop for everything sneakers. They've got 3 key features that they want you to know about. 1 is the Drop Alerts instant notifications. Never miss a release again. You'll get instantly notified whenever your size is available to buy. Number 2, the free raffle management. Keep track of all the raffles that happen in sneakers with our raffle tracker. And number 3, the release calendar. The accurate release calendar will keep you updated on releases that are upcoming. So whether you are a casual buyer or an all-out sneakerhead, Soul Savvy has something for you with all 3 different levels. The basic version, which is free, Mobile Plus, or Premium. Sign up for Soul Savvy by clicking the links in the description below or by visiting links.soulsavvy.com/PHLY or head over to the App Store and download the Drops by Soul Savvy app. Go ahead, Zach.
And let me tell you about my drive into work this morning. It was pretty sunny out, and I made sure that I put on sunglasses, right? And the best sunglasses to put on are Shady Rays sunglasses because I really like the polarized shades, and Shady Rays has those available for you. Gear up for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company, and it offers an unrivaled product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. There's durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures. So if you're into winter sports like Bo is, their quick swap snow lenses switch easily from full sun to low light. Don't let changing light conditions slow you down on the slopes when all you need is Shady Rays sun goggles. I use Shady Rays not for the slopes, more for the sun. And Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day 1, they told us they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. How about that service? That is awesome. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after your purchase. And if you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out an amazing deal for the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
All right, Zach. Right now, the Eagles are 7-1, a game and a half up on the Cowboys, a game up on the Detroit Lions, a game and a half up on the Seattle Seahawks, and 2 games up over the San Francisco 49ers. This 6-game stretch they have coming up: Dallas at home, then a bye. Monday night at Kansas City, who is also coming off a bye that week. Home against Buffalo, home against the Niners, at Dallas, at Seattle. Right now, as we enter this 6-game stretch, what is your prediction for their record for those 6 games?
3-3.
You think they go 3-3? Do you want to go game by game?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Well, should I give my Dallas prediction now? Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you don't have to.
Okay.
You can give a more specific prediction tomorrow, but how you're thinking right now. You think win this week?
Win this week against Dallas.
Okay.
Cooper Rush isn't the quarterback, but I think they win this week.
Okay. At Kansas City.
Lose at Kansas City.
Home against Buffalo.
Win home against Buffalo.
Home against San Francisco.
Win home against San Francisco.
So then you have losses at Dallas and at Seattle.
Yes.
Okay. I think they split the Dallas games. I want to take them to win in Kansas City, but Andy Reid coming off a bye. I mean, that's tough. I guess I'll go Kansas City. I think I think they lose one of the two Buffalo-San Francisco games, maybe the Buffalo game, beat San Francisco, and then I think they win in Seattle.
Okay. Seattle's a tough place to play.
I also think 3-3. Yeah, but also coming off the trip to Dallas, that's a tough one.
A lot of flying.
Is that good enough? 3-3. Would you feel good?
I'd feel good about the division. I wouldn't feel as good about the conference. Because at that point, the best you could finish is 13-4. So, which you probably would. Those last 3 games are pretty easy.
They are.
I mean, Giants,
New York,
Cardinals,
Arizona
Giants.
at Giants.
Yeah. So 13-4 probably could get you the 1 seed. I don't know what the tiebreakers would be with the Lions. The Lions are winning games right now.
They have a very easy schedule.
Exactly.
They if you just look at the projected lines for the rest of the season, they have they're off this week. Next week they're at the Chargers, which is the only game that they are not favored in. And other than that, the only games that they're not really favored in is at New Orleans. Other than that, it's like Bears, Packers, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, no quarterback
exactly.
now. They do have at Dallas. I missed that in week 17. So that game will probably be a big one at the end of the season.
Week 17 or week 8?
Week 17.
Week 17, okay. So
and then San Francisco already has 3 losses, and they've got a few difficult games coming up too. So,
but and look, we have ample time to get to this.
I think 13-4 probably gets it done.
Gets them the top seed.
I think so.
Okay. I mean, that's what you're focused on.
Although, who knows what the tie? Maybe Detroit gets there, but yeah. Anyway, I think those are the stakes.
And I was going to say, we have ample time to discuss this, but I'm not so worried about Detroit from the Eagles' perspective. I think the Eagles can go up there and stick it to the Lions.
I agree with that. Okay. But
Dan Campbell might
those
put
are the
this up.
stakes, I think.
Yeah, Dan Campbell might put this
Anything
up in the
below
Lions
3-3, you're probably saying goodbye to the 1 seed.
Yes.
Anything better than 3-3, you're feeling really good.
Very.
You're feeling like you're on a creative heater all of a sudden, and like you're Zach Berman in
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
And
that was a good heater.
3-3, you're treading water.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about this matchup from the Cowboys having the ball perspective, because let's wait for the Eagles having the ball for tomorrow, because then we'll have a better sense of whether Cam Jurgens is going to play, because I think that matters here. But Dallas coming into this game, Zach, not a great offense over the course of the season. They've been better lately, 17th in DVOA. And I think there have been some disappointing things for them. Tony Pollard has not been quite as ready for prime time. Now, some of that has to do with the offensive line, which has been a little bit uneven. CeeDee Lamb, really productive when he's getting the ball.
Which he has in recent weeks.
Which he has in recent weeks. They were having trouble getting him the ball before then. Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks not really giving them the big play ability that they were hoping for. I think the two of them combined, just 4 catches of 20-plus yards. Dak Prescott has been uneven but better of late. Right now he is, I believe, 7th in EPA per dropback. No, he's 6th in EPA per dropback. 11th in success rate, though. What concerns you about this matchup? And I think is it fair to say that it's not quite like the Miami game where it felt like their strengths were the Eagles' weaknesses, and we know how Sean Desai handled that, but Dallas is really good throwing the ball over the middle of the field. Dak Prescott is really good throwing the ball over the middle of the field. That is where the Eagles right now are not as strong. We'll see if Sean Desai has a plan.
Yeah, you framed it well there. And Dak historically has been awesome against the Eagles. He's 8-3 in games that he started. I'll take out 2 of those games because they were end of season games.
And this is only the second time that we're going to get a Dak versus Jalen Hurts matchup head to head. And really the first time of Jalen Hurts being Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. But even if you just look at these games that, and I'll actually take out 3 of these games because they've had 3 of these of these end of season games when teams aren't playing their full guys. But in the game last year on Christmas Eve, I mean, Dak had 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, passer rating of 124 against this defense. Against a lot of this defensive personnel. I know the Eagles have had some changes. 2021, he went 21 of 26, 3 touchdowns. I'm taking out that 5 touchdown performance to end the season when the Eagles had their backups. And then you even go before the Sirianni era, and he always seemed to play well against the Eagles. So my exposure to Dak, all these games I've attended, my exposure to Dak is that he's a high level player. CeeDee Lamb is a really dangerous receiver. They use him in the slot quite a bit, and the Eagles are still figuring out their slot situation here. So there's a lot that the Eagles are trying to, that kind of goes into this game that makes it a different type of matchup. I think they have some speed on the outside. Pollard, like you said, hasn't gone off the way he has last year, but I think he has that in him. And it's a familiar opponent. Like, they know the Eagles, so they know some of this personnel. They've played here before. They've won here before. So it is a big game. It is a tough game in that regard.
The CeeDee Lamb matchup is like what it's all about, I think.
So would you put Bradbury inside so he goes up against CeeDee, or is that hurting? Is that not maximizing Bradbury?
I think this is a game where you're going to see a lot of different stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
I think you're going to see Slay in there at times, which he did a little bit. Which game was that earlier this season? Was it Tampa?
Mike Evans, I think.
I think that might be right. He's done that a little bit.
Yeah, because
it was Jefferson. It was Jefferson. It was the Vikings game. He followed Jefferson inside, and I think that is the way that they're going to approach this. Is CeeDee Lamb is their Justin Jefferson, and CeeDee Lamb is by the number. I mean, he's the best slot receiver in the league. He's the only guy in the top 10 of yards per route run who plays over 50% of his snaps in the slot. Keenan Allen is the only other guy in the top 10 in receiving yards who plays that much in the slot. This is where they put him. This is where they get advantageous matchups. This is where he wins, right? And I think that means you want to put Slay in there. I think you probably might even see Bradbury in there at times too. I think you're going to see Eli Ricks there. I think you're going to see Sidney Brown there. Sidney Brown, I think we didn't talk too much about that like the film from the Washington game, and it wasn't great on defense. But like when it's a rundown, and this is like the Mike McCarthy predictability where he wants to try to run the ball, I think you will see Sidney Brown in there in early downs sometimes because he's so good against the run from that nickel position. I think you'll see Eli Ricks. I think this is going to be throw a bunch of different stuff at Dak. Dak has never gone up against Sean Desai. They're going to see if they can confuse him because that offensive line, while it has this big name value recognition, they've been just okay this year. And I think if the Eagles can confuse Dak just enough, they're going to have the ability to get after him.
And Tyron Smith's status is important to monitor leading up to the game too.
Yes, and what is that status?
So speaking to Mike McCarthy yesterday, it sounds like he's going to be limited here, and there's nothing definitive, but there's a chance he could play here.
Okay. Are you worried at all about Gallup and Cooks on the outside?
Cooks is someone who, like, the name really resonates with me. I've seen him have high-level games before.
You've seen him get knocked stone cold.
I was there. Yeah.
I know you were.
I wrote a book about it.
I know.
Yeah.
Where could you buy that book?
Anywhere books are sold, Bo.
Okay.
Yeah. So Brandon Cooks is not really putting that production's not translating this season. Okay. So he does worry me though. Gallup has had high level production before. When I was watching them, you know who jumped out to me a bit?
Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. How'd you know I was going to say that?
I got a sense. I know what's going on in your head.
What's that? You really don't know what's going on in my head, Bo.
I think I actually have a pretty good sense of what's going on in your head.
Debatable. Debatable. If you do, I'm worried for you. But in any event, Jake Ferguson, I like quite a bit. I think he's popped more than I expected.
Yeah, he's a good little player.
He's not little, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he's solid.
Wisconsin, 3rd round pick.
I know. I liked him at the Senior Bowl.
Flex.
Yeah, big flex. Their running game, they have not really been able to get going too much. Pollard, 3.9 yards a carry at about the same volume as DeAndre Swift, who's averaging 4.9 yards a carry. Even as a receiver, where he's been really dangerous in the past, just middling, 6.8 yards per reception, 178 total receiving yards. That's like a little bit better than DeAndre Swift has been, and Swift has been no specialty as a receiver this season. So I think Pollard has been like there was the long time waiting for him to finally be the guy in the backfield, and it seems like his explosiveness is not all the way there like it was in previous years.
Which surprises me, right? Because he's playing on the tag this year, correct? So
Yes.
he's playing for a new deal. He was such an explosive back last season. And I don't really like their running back depth. I went through, watched a few games there. It's Rico Dowdle. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
I believe you are.
Okay.
I thought he was a wide receiver, though. Rico Dowdle? I could be wrong. Go ahead.
Okay. Now you got me worried.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Deuce Vaughn, yeah.
Are you? But it's been Rico. It's been Rico in there. You got me really worried that I in my notes I had the wrong guy.
I guess I was thinking of Cavante Turpin.
How did you conflate the two? I'm curious.
They're both players on the Cowboys offense.
Gotcha.
I don't
Okay. Yeah, Turpin's an electric returner.
Yes.
And he's really going to challenge the Eagles special teams. But no, I think the big question in this game, it's the big question in most games, but can the Eagles pass rush get home? Because that's, I think one thing you've seen, and I should credit Kevin Byard. I was listening to Kevin Byard's interview before this. He said that what they're getting is some like quick early completions for Dak to get him in a rhythm, whereas in the past there were more downfield shots. But I think that if your pass rush can get home here, and Jalen Carter in the interior is going to be a big part of this game. I should say Jalen Carter would have been a full participant in practice yesterday. And he's going to be a big part of that interior rush. Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat have both been playing at a high level. And then what the Eagles do in the slot. And by the way, this is the type of game that you traded for Kevin Byard. You want that type of stability in the secondary. Reed Blankenship, even though he had the interception, is coming off an inconsistent game against Washington. The Eagles need better play from him, but those safeties are going to be tested for sure.
You mentioned it a little bit there. His air yards are way down this year. I think 27th in the league in air yards per pass attempt, not throwing it as deep. But he is still very good versus pressure. And that's where it's all about the Eagles getting home and not just getting pressure on him. Both Dak and Jalen Hurts are top 5 in the league against pressure, but they do it in different ways, right? There's that chart that was, I think, going around on Twitter today. I forget the guy's name, so I'm apologizing for not crediting it, but it's like the axes of quarterbacks who are able to create time against pressure and also not get sacked. And the 3 guys who are really good at both are Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, which I think probably even undersells what Jalen Hurts does because it doesn't include scrambles, I think. But Dak he'll just get rid of the ball, and he knows where his quick release is, and he's able to throw it and get it out accurately. He is second in the league in success rate against pressure, while Hurts is 4th, but Hurts is 3rd in EPA per play against pressure. Dak is 4th. So Hurts is getting more big plays, obviously. But that's what it's going to be all about. And this is a big Jalen Carter game. Every game is a big Jalen Carter game. This is a big Josh Sweat game. We'll see if Haason Reddick can make a big play. And then I do love, we talked to Fletcher Cox about it, but these 2 old gladiators entering the arena again, like Fletcher Cox and Zach Martin, here we go. Just another rodeo between the 2 of us. It's kind of fun.
Good point. And Fletcher Cox, I'm not just saying this because he was a guest on our show. He has been playing at a high level this year. He's been consistent in terms of playing time, and he is going to have to be a big part of that interior rush with Jalen Carter. I think you propose a good point there. And I really like the distinction between the pressure and the sacks, because the pressure isn't doing you any good if he's completing his passes. You need to get Dak Prescott on the turf in this game.
Yeah, I saw a thing going around about how the Niners lead the league in pressures, which is pretty on brand for an organization that really likes to celebrate the fact that they were theoretically in position to finish the job.
That's a good joke there.
Thank you.
I'll sell that one. Yeah.
When you say I'll sell that one, you are by definition not selling it.
I'm literally selling. I'm saying.
No, you're literally not. By saying you're selling it, you are revealing the fakeness of the sell.
No, I'm saying that's a good one. That's one that I'll get behind. Yeah.
No, that's not what that means. Selling means it's fake.
Chat, what do you think? Chime in.
That's what it means. If I'm selling it,
no, because you can laugh. No, but you're making.
Yeah, but then you're just laughing.
No, because it could be legitimately funny, but you're selling the joke, meaning that you want the person saying it to feel good. That like his joke's getting recognized.
No, but if you are not authentically laughing, then it's not real. If you are authentically laughing, then you're not selling it. It's just what happened.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying there could be like a snicker, and then there could be
a sticker?
A snicker.
Oh, a snicker.
A snicker.
Okay.
Do I need to enunciate better? A snicker.
Okay.
You know, like you're at a comedy show, they say a funny joke, you're like, huh, yeah, that's good. But no, I'm selling it. I'm making you.
But if you are exaggerating it purposefully, that means that it's not authentic.
Bo, you're triggered by this.
I'm just we always have this back and forth, and I want to get to the heart of it.
Steve Clef is with you on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve.
Big
Clef.
episode for Steve Clef.
Yes.
We're gonna retitle this when it goes on the audio feeds. The Steve Clef episode.
Yeah. SP Walsh says saying you're selling it is the opposite of selling it. Okay.
Yes.
Matthew Klein says I thought Zach was doing this to punish Bo.
There you go. I think the
minions
wisdom
are
of the crowd.
Yeah. As you can see, Bo's fan club is tuning in today.
All right.
I think they like the sweater vest.
If you want
or these sweater shirt combo.
Go to the game on Sunday, Zach. You can go to the Game Time app because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Zach, not a big theater guy. We know that.
No,
but
not at all.
Like, why? Wait, what do you got? Like, there's no threatening to your masculinity about saying you wouldn't mind going to the theater.
Yeah, I would rather not go to the musicals. How often are you somewhere when they break out in the song? It just doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That is so at odds with so many of your other opinions. But
you don't watch college football? I don't go to the theater. So.
Okay. You know, but I also don't say I'm not going to watch college football because if I watch college football, it might make me a little bit less manly.
That's not that at all. It's just a matter of my interest. I'm not spending 3 hours at a musical when I can watch college football.
Oh my gosh, the kids at school are going to make fun of me if they find out I'm watching college football on a Saturday.
Bo.
With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. They've got easy-to-find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get the images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. All right, Zach, it's time for the draft, our weekly parsing of the 2 respective rosters heading into the game. We have moved on from specific players to entire position groups. Once again, we've got quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, tackles, interior offensive line, edge, defensive tackle, linebackers, corners, safeties, and special teams. I believe it's time for us to play rock, paper, scissors. 2 out of 3. You ready? You're really thinking this through.
Yes.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Scissors beats paper for me, 1-0. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper beats rock for Zach, 1-1. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock and rock. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Paper. Here we go. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. My paper beats his rock, 2-1. I take the W. All right. That's okay. I actually think that there's a case to be made that you're in a better position here because it goes 1-2. And I don't think that there's an obvious place to go with the 1 here. But I do believe...
Are you changing the rules or are you still going to stick to the 1 pick?
I mean, I'll stick to the rules.
Okay.
I believe that... this is tough. But I think the biggest delta in this game at a position that matters... Hold on, very quickly. We're counting Micah Parsons as an edge, right? Not a linebacker?
Correct. We're counting Micah Parsons as an edge. We're counting DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons as the starting edge rushers for the Cowboys.
Okay. I think the biggest delta in this game at a position that matters is defensive tackle. I think the Eagles group of Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, even without Kentavious Street, I think those guys are really good, and I think it's maybe the biggest weakness of this Cowboys defense. They don't get a lot of pressure from there. Osa Odigizua is a good player. He has 3 sacks on the season. None of their other defensive tackles have any sacks. They have been a little bit porous against runs up the middle. Mozzie Smith, their first-round pick, has not really made a big impact in their run defense just yet. I think if the Eagles are going to win this game, there's a good chance it comes from the defensive tackles. I'm taking the Eagles defensive tackles with the number 1 overall pick.
That's a good pick, and that would have been my top pick as well. And I think it's a credit to the way Jalen Carter is playing. The fact that he's going to be out there is big for the Eagles. The rotation will be disrupted a little bit, or I shouldn't say disrupted, changed a little bit after the Kentavious Street trade. So you might see a little more Moro Ajomo out there. Marlon Tuipulotu, he's the backup nose. I really don't think his playing time is going to change much. But what I would do, frankly, is play more Milton Williams. Play more. And by the way, Milton Williams, he would have been limited at practice yesterday. We'll have a fuller injury update after practice today. Maybe I'll do a YouTube short when the report comes out.
I look forward to it.
To give a little more insight there. But I would have gone defensive tackle as well, and I think that's going to be a big part of this game. And we'll get to the Cowboys' interior offensive line too, but that's probably the strength of the Cowboys' offensive line.
I think that's probably right.
So it's kind of strength versus strength there.
Okay. Big opportunity for you here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Eagles running backs now.
I actually thought about making that joke, so good job by you.
Because
you're going running back and linebacker.
Yeah, I got ridiculed for going running back last week. So I was sitting on that one. If I got the number 1 pick, I was going to pull out the Eagles running back joke. But then there was a part of me, like 8% of me, was afraid that you would say, well, you picked them, so that's your. No,
I would never do that.
Okay.
Now, didn't that feel much better because I actually laughed?
Yeah,
Didn't you feel like you had made a good joke that way because it was an actually good joke and I laughed?
That was a sell.
No, it wasn't a sell.
Okay. I'm going here with Eagles wide receivers.
That's a sell.
Okay. Coach, Coach appreciates your sense of humor. Eagles wide receivers, as good as CeeDee Lamb is. A.J. Brown is on a run here. It's historic. It's never happened. 125 plus yards, 6 consecutive games. While this show's been going on, he was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Month. I need to do my research to see when he last won that award. When I asked A.J. Brown about winning Offensive Player of the Week award, he, for the first time in his career, he insisted to me that he's won it before. And I kind of looked at the PR guy and looked at my email and wait a second, this was the league saying this is his first one, but AJ was convinced. So I got to see if he's won Offensive Player of the Month, but he has been awesome. He's a legit MVP candidate. But I also want to say, and we'll get more into this in tomorrow's show, this could be a big Devontae Smith game because I can really see, and Devontae Smith had a quiet 99 yards. I know I said 100 earlier this week, and 99 yards, a quiet 99 yards. But I got to think that teams are going to be, that the Cowboys are going to be like, let's not let A.J. Brown do this to us. And Devontae Smith can take advantage of them. And Julio Jones is on the 53-man roster, had that touchdown. Julio's coming. Julio's coming. There is so much respect for Julio in that locker room. If the players know, the players respect this guy to no end.
What do you mean by Julio's coming?
I just meant he's going to continue to kind of have.
Do you think he's going to be a big part of the offense?
No, I think he's going to have specific, that play that he caught the touchdown on was put in for Julio. Okay. He was the first read on that play. They repped it, rep after rep after rep in Friday's session. And boom, touchdown, big touchdown in the game. So I think that Julio's
his only target of the game.
I think Julio's going to continue to have a role on the Eagles.
But Julio's coming. I mean, if he's 2 targets a game max.
If they're touchdowns, right?
Okay.
Make them count. All right, so I'm going wide receivers.
Hakeem Butler's coming.
There's 8 people who understand that reference. Hakeem Butler was put in for a 4th down in the 2020 season.
I believe it's the only snap he played in his entire NFL career.
The Eagles went for a 4th down at the goal line. They put Hakeem Butler in the game, and they threw him a fade in the corner. And it was incomplete, but it was like telegraphing it.
One of the great plays of all time.
Yes. Okay. And then I'm going to go offensive tackle here. And I'm going to go. I'm going to go offensive tackle. Obviously, if Tyron Smith plays, it loses some of its luster. But Lane Johnson's in the lineup. By the way, and this was a question Jimmy Kempski asked actually both Mike McCarthy and Nick Sirianni yesterday. Was Lane Johnson exited both Cowboys games last year, right? And like in the middle, he had the concussion the first game, and then the core or the what was the specific
flexor?
I forget the specific
sports hernia.
The middle of his body.
Yeah.
He had that injury last year, and
hip flexor.
No, there's like a specific thing.
Abdomen. Belly button.
No, the chat might know, but in any event,
don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
No, it wasn't the backside. Not the addictor, the adductor.
Oh, the adductor.
Yes. Yeah, the adductor.
Not to be confused with the subtractor. I got him. Not
me. That is. Let the listening audience. And we appreciate all the listeners, by the way. The viewers are great, but I know the listeners too. I want to show you guys some love and
yeah,
ladies
but I know
as well.
Steve Clef.
But that was not me laughing. That was Coach. So
it's the first time you called him Coach.
Eric, Coach, however we want to frame it. But I think that with Lane Johnson healthy enough here, Jordan Mailata on the left side, that's going to be a huge matchup here against Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence.
This is tough. I could make a stand and go quarterback. I could take a near interior, but I don't think there's a huge difference there. Cornerback is a possibility. Would you take edge, even though one side has arguably the best pass rusher in the league, but the other side has 2 really good pass rushers? I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to put my faith in Josh Sweat.
Wow.
And Haason Reddick over Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence.
Wow.
Now, part of this is because I think they have a good chance to go against the Dallas tackles. And I'm going to build my team the way that the Eagles build their team. I'm going to build that defensive line. I think if they're going to win this game, it's going to come by getting after Dak Prescott relentlessly. So give me the Eagles edge rushers, Josh Sweat and Haason Reddick over Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence.
Well, going up against the Cowboys tackles could certainly help. And I think the Reddick-Sweat combo is probably the best edge rushing combo in the league. Certainly Bosa and Chase Young.
Not even close.
Bosa and Chase Young are really good.
Bosa's really good. Chase Young is fine.
Chase Young's pressures this year.
Great. Yeah. Chase Young is just fine.
Yeah. But look,
realistically, would probably, I think you can make a case for Haason Reddick over Nick Bosa, but it's probably Bosa, Reddick, Sweat, Chase Young down here.
Okay. But Micah Parsons might be the best player in this game.
I think that's totally fair.
So I'm happy to get Micah Parsons.
Would you, in the many sliding doors of the Eagles, how different would their franchise be if they had drafted Micah Parsons over Devontae Smith?
That's a great question. It's a great question because then they don't sign Haason Reddick the following year. What do they do at wide receiver in the 2021 season? I mean, look, if they knew Micah Parsons was going to rush the quarterback like this, then he'd be a top 5 pick, right?
Sure,
he wouldn't have been the Eagles pick.
What a good draft that was.
Yeah. But that's a huge sliding doors.
But also, if he was viewed as an edge, they probably would have drafted him.
Yeah.
And if he was
now,
not
also,
considered
though,
a linebacker.
And look, I don't say this to take anything away from Micah Parsons, but Devontae Smith, there was also like a culture setting element to that pick too. Heisman Trophy winner from the national champion But
yeah, first pick of the Sirianni era, you're drafting a player who plays his position, who's exactly what you want it to be. But Howie Roseman's not passing up a guy who is the best edge rusher in football. Yeah, for that.
I mean, the Falcons wouldn't either, So Kyle Pitts might have fallen down the board. By the way, little flex here. In the locker room yesterday, I'm working to get some Micah Parsons, I don't want to say intel, but like color, And I want to leave no stone unturned. Who do you think I spoke to in the locker room?
Brett Brackett.
No, Brett Brackett's not on the team.
Okay.
But close.
Daniel Gallen.
No, I would love to talk to Daniel Gallen. Just followed me on Instagram. Yeah. How about that flex?
I don't know.
Brandon Smith.
Oh, nice.
Brandon Smith, who played 1 year at Penn State with him and former teammate, but also like similar playing styles at Penn State, athletic edge rushers. Brandon Smith's playing more off-ball linebacker for the Eagles here. But speaking to Brandon Smith just about like how special Micah Parsons is, and actually Parsons kind of helped Brandon Smith with a few things earlier in his career. But just like the type of, Brandon Smith said he knew back then that Micah Parsons like had this pass rushing element to him. They didn't play that way at Penn State, but
isn't that a failure of the Penn State coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean he still rushed the quarterback some, but he played more off ball. But he was a prolific edge rusher.
Yeah, but I mean, you had the best pass rusher in college football, and they didn't let him rush the passer enough. Like that is a failure. It's a bad job.
True. I mean, they had some other good edge rushers, but you're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, you're up.
Okay. So I'm gonna go Eagles tight end.
Really? Okay. After all that gassing up of Jake Ferguson.
I like Dallas Goedert. I think offensive weapons are important here. I think that I'm okay getting the Eagles. I'm looking for spots where there are deltas. Certainly, there are some spots where I like the Cowboys personnel, but the Eagles are good at that spot. And I think Dallas Goedert's in line to have a good game if A.J. Brown gets his attention. Dallas Goedert's one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL from where I sit.
Okay. Bold. I'm going to go ahead and take a stand. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Dak Prescott.
The floor is yours.
Jalen has struggled with turnovers this year. A lot. Some of those are incidental. Some of those are very squarely on him. Dak has done that as well. I just think that Jalen Hurts has more answers than Dak Prescott does. Even though Jalen Hurts is hampered by whatever knee injury he is going through right now, and even though he is not really scrambling that much, I think he has more tools in his toolbox than Dak Prescott does. It's similar to what we were talking about with the pressures, where Dak can get rid of the ball, but he's getting rid of the ball and throwing it 6 yards down the field, right? I think Jalen is more of a big play hunter, which I appreciate. I think he can get away from pressure a little bit more. I just think that his ceiling is higher, and I think he's a better player. Simple as that.
So we'll get to this in more depth tomorrow, but Jalen without running the ball against a Cowboys defense that could potentially play more man, knowing that he's not going to run the way he has in the past. Does that change your view, or the way that Jalen threw the ball against Washington? He won NFC Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week. Do you think that shows that even when Jalen is not running, he is still so dangerous?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's going to be the same this week, because I think the Cowboys corners are better than the Commanders corners, right? Like he might not have as much success just trusting guys to win 50-50 balls, right? And I think it takes away some of what he can do. People in the chat are talking about the game plan from last year when it was, don't block Micah Parsons, read him. Well, if Jalen Hurts can't run, You can't really just do that.
That's
right?
exactly.
It's going to change the game plan
Yes,
there.
100%.
So, I think this is going to have to be a different kind of game plan if they're not going to trust Jalen to run. I also think there's a bit of they could go a little possum here, and like Jalen is hobbling, but you got a bye coming up. Let's call a couple of those draws that they don't see coming because Jalen's willing to pull it all out there because this is a de facto playoff game, right? I just think that he offers a little bit more than Dak does, and I think Dak he's plateaued a little bit, and I think that Jalen continues to add minor things to his game.
And all valid points there. You referenced this earlier in the show. It is odd how few Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott games there have been.
Yeah,
considering their history.
They played one game together against each other. That was the famous Deshaun Jackson game down in Dallas. Where he had a touchdown and then suffered an injury, and that was it. But they haven't
Wait, no,
peak Jalen. I thought that was it. No,
that wasn't
not
it.
Dak.
Dak was out that season.
Oh, that's right.
It was the 2021 season.
2021. Okay,
Yeah.
But so they didn't play last year. It was Cooper Rush, and then it was Gardner Minshew. So, I think it's a fun head-to-head battle.
Okay.
All right, Zach. Before you make your pick, let me quickly tell you about FOCO. FOCO, as everybody knows who's been watching, I feel like FOCO. I think we've had a FOCO read every single show.
I appreciate their loyal,
we appreciate their support.
Yeah.
They are our Cal Ripken. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. Excuse me. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. All right, Zach, you're on the board.
So there's a lot of positions where there's similarities here, and I'm going to go with one where maybe the Eagles are better, but the Eagles haven't shown that they're better yet, right? And that's because I'm still waiting to see how Kevin Byard looks. So I'm going with Dallas's safeties here.
Interesting.
And Malik Hooker is somebody who I probably have a soft spot for. Former first-round pick.
You've Googled him all the time.
What's that? I Google Malik Hooker all the time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that like a hooker joke or something?
It is a hooker joke, yes.
It's not a very funny one, but okay.
As you chuckle to yourself.
And I just think that there's more continuity there. Hooker, Jaron Kearse, in that Dan Quinn defense. Dan Quinn historically has made safeties look good. He's good at kind of using the hybrid safeties as well. And Blankenship was a little too inconsistent last week, like I said. I'm still waiting to see Byard. Byard, as you can see on allphly.com, when Bo did the Q&A about 28 interceptions against 20 quarterbacks, and Dak Prescott, he's gotten, 3 times?
3 times, yes.
3 times, yeah. So perhaps this is a big game for Byard, but I'm going with Cowboy safeties here.
Okay. If I were you, I feel like I would have gone corner. So I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I'm taking the Eagles corners. Now, Daron Bland has had an awesome year. 3 touchdowns on interceptions, 4 interceptions overall. Baldy talked about him this week, how he's their defensive MVP. Stephon Gilmore has a long period of good play in this league, but he's older, just like Darius Slay and James Bradbury are. We don't know what their plan is going to be at nickel this week, but I think that the combination of Slay and Bradbury, I trust more than Bland and Gilmore, so I'm going to take the Eagles corners.
Okay, that's fair. Now Gilmore, established player, former defensive player of the year. The injury to Diggs is significant there. Now they got Jordan Lewis playing in the slot. Okay, I can see what you did there. I will go with Eagles interior offensive line.
Okay.
And of course, we don't know yet about Cam Jurgens. But
turkeys, what turkeys would you put on Jurgens playing this week?
Go 50-50 at this point.
Wow. Take a stance, man.
I don't have a strong stance right now. Right? I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know. Saw Cam Jurgens in the locker room yesterday.
I'm not asking for your reporting. I'm asking for your crystal ball eagling.
I don't have it would be like
You have no feeling in your bones either way.
I have no feeling in my bones either way.
Okay.
Right now. Look, I don't know. I haven't seen him on the field in 5 weeks. So my watch is dead. In an hour and a half, I will see, or in an hour, 1:35. I'll see.
What good is a watch for you if you can die? You know?
I didn't charge it last night. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I think earlier in the week I thought that Jurgens was going to play. Right now I'm tilting towards thinking he's not going to play.
Seems like you got some intel.
I don't have any intel. I'm simply just telling you how I feel, which is what I asked you to do. But you have no feeling.
I don't have a strong feeling.
All right, let's try to expedite the end of this a little bit. 3 positions left: linebacker, running back, and special teams. The Cowboys actually have pretty good special teams, just like the Eagles so far this season. I think 6th in DVOA. I'm going to go ahead and pull a Zach Berman here. I'm taking DeAndre Swift over Tony Pollard or Pony Tollard.
Well, Swift is going to have a big game against this run defense, so
I think there's a chance for that. I think there's a chance. You know, I keep saying this, that like maybe this will be the DeAndre Swift game. The Eagles have not sort of unstuck their running game over the past few games. This is a chance for them to really. I imagine that's going to be a big emphasis this week in practice. Is, you know, Jeff Stoutland hammering these guys on getting these things corrected, and I think there's a chance for Swift to have a big game in like what's the biggest game that a Philly guy could have. A home game against the Cowboys, right? Like I can sort of see this being like the story after the game. You've already written your DeAndre Swift post-game story, but this could be like the DeAndre Swift in Eagles Cowboys gets to, you know, makes his lasting memory.
Fair enough. So I'm down the linebacker and special teams.
Correct.
The DVOA for the Eagles special teams is number 3 this year, I believe. And then the Cowboys is number 6. The Cowboys have a more electric returner. I don't know where I stand on the Cowboys linebackers. Where do you stand on the Cowboys linebackers compared to the Eagles linebackers?
You're up, my friend.
Yeah, I'm up.
I'm not giving you the answers to the test.
Okay. I'm gonna go Eagles special teams. They've played well this year. Jake Elliott is money in Philly. Or he's been money this year from distance. Britton Covey's had some decent returns. One thing to note: Boston Scott, the Eagles kickoff returner, was not at the building yesterday, or he went out of practice yesterday for personal reasons. So we'll see today when they get out there.
Okay. I will close it out with I'll take the Cowboys linebackers over the Eagles. Love the spelling of Marquise Bell's name. That's on my radar. Mark, and then the Q comes in.
Okay.
You know, you don't skip to the Q. You get the K for the Mark part, and then you get the Q in there.
Florida A&M?
I think that's right.
Okay.
This is more of a bet against the Eagles linebackers than it is a bet on the Cowboys linebackers. Plus, I'm going to, at some point, just include the fact that Micah Parsons does sometimes play linebacker for them, and so that's a big notch in my favor.
You can't do that. We've already established this.
Okay, so to run this down, Zach has essentially the offenses are interesting. I have Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, and the rest of the Cowboys offense.
So if Jerry Jones actually drafted Jalen Hurts, you would see that. Yes.
Right. And you have Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, and the entire rest of the Eagles offense, which is a pretty good situation to be in, I would say. On defense, I've got the Eagles defensive line and the Eagles secondary. I've got basically the Eagles entire defense except for the Cowboys linebackers. And you've got the Cowboys entire defense except for the Eagles linebackers. So it's going to be, this will be a fun one to follow. Now in special teams, you've got the Eagles, I've got the Cowboys. There you go. Anything else you want to get to? Here's the one Sirianni thing that was popping in my head last night. Of all the things, like the way things went over the first couple of years, one of the things that occurred to me that would like never have worked as well under McDaniels as it did under Sirianni, the Flowers. Like the rebounding from that initial adversity I feel like with McDaniels at the helm, there's no rebound. Like, I do not think that he is a guy wired to turn things around like that. I think he is a front runner.
Yeah, I mean, I've read a decent amount of coverage in the past 24 hours.
Very good Vic Tafer column on The Athletic.
Yes, agreed.
And a really good, I think Greg Rosenthal tweeted this, but like, it is so indicative. It is almost always the case that the guys who are the most like aggressively anti-media in public are always the guys who leak the most and are trying to control the narrative as much as possible.
Yes, agree with you there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if McDaniels would have used a flower analogy though.
Well, no, he wouldn't have. He would have just been cursing everybody out and saying, you know, my way or the highway. If you can't get on board, get out of town.
Yeah,
like
exactly. I don't think like the whole Patriots thing would have gone over well in Philly either. You know, I don't think Philly would have like worshipped at the altar of Bill Belichick.
Unlike you.
Worship, I respect what he's done though as a football guy for sure.
Okay. All right, Zach. That's going to do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. We are back tomorrow at 2:00 for our Crystal Bald Eagle predictions, another edition of Goose Wisely, all that good stuff. And we're going to talk about when the Eagles have the ball. We'll have a little bit more information. Maybe Zach can jump off the fence on who's going to be right guard on Sunday.
I will be at practice today, and I'll have more intel later on YouTube and all our
check out the YouTube shorts,
all our social media channels.
All right. So for Eric and Zach, I am Bo. We thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And the Steve Klepp episode is finally in your ears. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.